What up, y'all?
How y'all doing today? So today we're going to talk about a film called The Hunt from 2020. It's extremely funny. Basically, the creators of this movie was looking at this divide between the right and the left in this country specifically and decided to make this movie. I guess it's like a kind of a political satire slash horror slash maybe black comedy because it's like it has some pretty dark moments in it.
All right. So basically, these group of people wake up and find themselves being hunted. The action starts off from the beginning. Overall, these people are being hunted, and we find out later on that the reason why they're being hunted is because there was a conspiracy theory going around that it was being called Manorgate. These rich elite liberals were basically choosing a bunch of regular folks and hunting them. The people who kind of push this conspiracy, surprise, are the people that end up being hunted.
All of the elites were affected.
So they just decided, hey, why not make it a real thing? It's like when a guy cheats on his girlfriend and he's like, well, you accused me so much of it, I just decided that I'm gonna do it. And that's exactly the same mentality. Spread this conspiracy. We all lost jobs, put under scrutiny. So we're gonna just do exactly what they said we did. And the main woman, she has a house in Croatia, and they decided to do the hunt there. But they didn't anticipate that one of the ladies was gonna be this badass military chick. Single-handedly took out the whole crew. At the end, we find out that she wasn't even the one that they were supposed to have targeted. They got the wrong person, and they ended up with an assassin. One of the things that they wanted to maybe focus on is the fact that this conspiracy got blown out of proportion, and it ended up affecting the people who, and we saw things like this with like Pizzagate, school Sandy Hook, like these conspiracies, where they say that crisis actors or crazy shit is going on, and it actually affects these people. Instead of it being the crazy right wingers that were doing the living, it was the liberals. See them throughout the movie being all textbook liberal, like what they make fun of.
Most of the people especially in the very beginning, one of the first notable actresses you see is Emma Roberts. That was the blonde lady in the blue yoga pants, right? She was like the first woman I recognized, right? One of the people from is Sunny in Philadelphia. His name is Glenn Howerton. So you want to guess what Emma Roberts, the first girl you see with the ball gag thing in her mouth, name is? You're gonna love it.
What is it?
Yoga Pants. Yeah, the first girl that got her head blown off is named Yoga Pants. Then the guy that got arrowed to death, his name is Target, okay? The dude from Florida that died from poison smoke, his name was Vanilla Nice. Tall mullet wearing girl, her name was Big Red. The girl that died in the pit, her name was Dead Sexy, okay? If you can't tell from these names, these people were just cannon fodder. And like some of the actors and actresses I recognized, and some of them I didn't. And they all got mercilessly killed. Like Emma Roberts' brains got splattered on a wooden box. As soon, like you heard some shots being popped. You hear like, and they're like, "What's that?" I was like, "Whoa, what the?" That came out of nowhere.
As soon as they woke up, they find themselves in the field. There's this like crate or whatever, and the guy goes up to open the crate, and they roll out. First, a pig comes out of the crate, which is actually symbolic. We find out later on that the assassin, they were calling her Snowball, and that comes from George Orwell Animal Farm. A wall of weapons, like they roll that out, and they all get a weapon, and they actually have the keys to take these. They have these like ball gags or whatever the fuck, and they start picking them off immediately. It took us by surprise. So you was like, okay, what's gonna happen next? Next thing you know, homegirl's head is getting blown over.
And then you see one girl run down the field, and you see her like cause they getting shot at, and she's running toward the woods, and all of a sudden, yeah, help! And then Mr. Hanson walks up. She's just in a pit with spikes. And he's like, help. I'm like, what are you doing? She has like a spike in the middle of her torso. She's done, bro. He picks her up. Maybe he's gonna be the star of the show. He looks down, he stepped on a mine. Blows up. The next guy, I'm gonna call him Squinty because he had the little squinty ass eyes. Looked like Mark Wahlberg that had a lemon in his mouth. And then he runs over to the pit. The girl's blown in half. And he's like, oh, I'll save you. She's like, shoot me. And he's like, no, I'll save you. And she's like, she takes the gun. She's like, snowflake and blows her brains out, which was the first funny thing. Like, who's calling somebody a snowflake? You'd be screaming in horrible pain. They make it out, go to a gas station, and they see the old couple, and they're scared because they got guns and stuff. And this was the next part that made me laugh. Quinty gets on the phone, and he's like talking to the police, and the police is just being real weird and stuff. I'm like, where are you? Tell your address. It's like, can't you just trace it? Yeah, we'll do that. We'll trace it. Which was like, okay, something's going on. Then Big Red eats a donut, starts foaming at the mouth. I was like, oh, that shit is poison. All of a sudden, Grandma and Grandpa, they like, I think she shot one of them or crippled one of them. Squinty was like, you're going to hell. And this is the funniest part. The old man gets his face like, I don't believe in hell.
Plays into like the liberals being like Satanists and atheists and stuff like that. Very satirical. I had to look at it through a different lens because at first I'm like, I didn't know what to think of it. And then it started to click that it was satirical for everyone.
They definitely made fun of both sides equally. Everybody got the ball gags on her mouth, and then you see her like take this little stick. She starts rubbing it in her hand. I think she's like messing with the lock. And then she puts it on a leaf in the water. And I guess the static electricity like was pointing where she could go north. And then she just walks off, and that's when the rest of them get taken out. She had a part where there's a train with some immigrants on it, and then they get pulled over by these like soldiers. The fat guy thought that these are crisis actors. And then I love how Chris was like, but they have a baby. That's a crisis baby. And then they kept talking about Manorgate, and we didn't get it at first. We had literally Googled what the fuck Manorgate was, but that's like what we said earlier, that what they had accused these elites of. It was so funny because they're like, we're American, we don't belong with them, da da da. Then I love how like one guy that you thought was like Middle Eastern, he's like, I don't think they believe you, Gary. I forgot to just talk about the old couple in the store, how after he said the God thing, he's like, climate change is real, asshole. Then they started talking about like diversity and stuff. It's like, there's not enough black people. And then she's like, African American. She's like, we're allowed to call them black now. She's like, where'd you hear that? NPR. Sorry, it was the funniest shit. So heavy-handed. It definitely makes you laugh at the extremes on both sides. Like both of them, like the crisis actor thing to the like them two discussing that shit was so funny. Other favorite things about the movie is that Crystal, granted, they showed that she obviously had some combat training, and she knew how to shoot a gun. She knew how to like surprise the assailants and stuff. But one of my favorite things about her, she didn't waste words on you. She made sure to double tap your ass.
If you ever looked at a movie and been like, why don't they just finish that person off? Why are they doing this? There was no room with her. She didn't leave anybody standing.
If she put you down, she put you down. You wasn't getting back up. But then again, she made like the funniest facial expressions. They get picked up from that, I guess, embassy or whatever. The guy in the car that's driving them is just, he's trying to play it up that he's some kind of like diplomat or somebody that came to pick him up that works for the State Department or whatever. He's just like trying to get in their heads and ask them questions. And he just asks us too many questions. And you just see her like grab the little handhold on top of things. She's like, and you just see her just like put her legs up and kick the fuck out of this guy. He falls out, and then she backs over his head. It was wild.
She was really able to just spot through bullshit right away. It was cool to see like her be that ruthless. She has every right to be as ruthless as possible with all of them to get up out of there. And I think this is where we get to like the distinction between the battle between rich and poor, right? Because the elites were the liberal ones, right? Definitely like the people that they were hunting, essentially. Not all of them were rich. I think one may have been in a political family, paid attention to even now, right?
Oh yeah, especially during this climate, yeah.
Understanding who the real sort of like opposition is.
Also like how both sides look at each other, you know. The elite look down, and let's be honest, I don't care if they are lefty or not. They look down on you no matter what. Yeah, they look at your tax bracket. They don't care if you left wing, right wing. Now, granted, they're gonna cater to one side or the other, but they don't give a fuck about anybody who's a tax bracket not up to their tax bracket. If you under them, they don't care about you. When they were talking about them, you know, she's talked about the people that they're hunting about, like they were scum, like scum under her feet and stuff. And then,
I mean, yeah, she called them deplorable.
Near the end, they solidified, like they picked these people because they were on this website. They were like justifying the lefty liberal elite were justifying murdering these working class conservatives because they were bigoted or they didn't believe in climate change or homophobic and stuff like that.
Is that in the train, the guy was thinking that the people are crisis actors or whatever. That guy was willing to risk his own life because he was on some Islamophobic type shit and not even Islamophobic, only like xenophobic. Walking up to the soldier like, I'm an American. It's like nobody gives a shit. It didn't matter that his life was on the line. It didn't matter that he was just literally being hunted. None of that shit mattered. He still was able to find room to be a bigot in the midst of all of that. There are a lot of people out here like that.
Now let's talk about our girl Crystal. So you find out right when she takes most of the group out that obviously she was in Afghanistan, right? And when she beats up their instructor. Funny, I love how he didn't want to say nothing. Just she like stuck her finger on one of his wounds and his stuff. And the crazy thing was how calm this woman was the whole time. Like, it was disturbingly how calm she was. But I think it was obviously, it went with the silliness of the movie. She basically kind of admitted that, like, frustrated and unhappy at her job and would probably like to do something nuts to the people that come to her. She wanted to take it out on this bitch who pulled her into this stuff. You know, or the people that pulled her. So she obviously knew these are, like, probably the people that own these companies and stuff. That the reason why she gets treated like shit. Our girl Crystal basically ends up having this showdown with Athena. Right, it was the one who orchestrated all of this, played by Hilary Swank's fine ass, and Jesus Christ. She goes to the mansion. She's just giving her this like big old speech of like how terrible she is and the rest of them, and how it wasn't real, and y'all started this conspiracy theory, and then homegirl's like, but it is real. She's like, it wasn't. She's like, but it doesn't matter. You're doing it now. Which was funny. It wasn't. It was just a joke, and y'all, you know, because y'all are stupid and just believe whatever you want to believe. But at the same time, she thinks it is that same thing. She wants to believe what she wants to believe is that woman is the one that says something nasty about her, which is another thing, a funny trope from the internet, how people act like how people want to go left on you just because someone said fuck this bitch or calls you an N-word. Like, people sometimes crash out and do the most when somebody online is saying something wild. But anyways, she starts reading her, like telling her about her whole life, and homegirl's like, you got the wrong one. I get this bitch's mail all the time. I'm not the right person. And the lady's like, yes you are, and thought she was lying. And then Crystal was just like, okay, I ain't no convincing you. And you just see her starting to like kind of roll her sleeves up. I'm like, and she's like, what we gonna get? It just runs at her. I was like, finish him. And they commenced to beating the shit out of each other for what, like 5-10 minutes?
Yeah, it was a long fight scene. It was like never ending, but it was a good fight scene. Athena, so she grabs a blade from food processor. She grabs the blade, stabs her in her neck with the thermometer, and then gets her in the gut, pulls that shit out, and then the one that's in the blade, she does some crazy fucking flip over. She basically pulls Athena into her. Like, the blade transfers from Crystal to Athena, but it caught Athena in a place where she was donezo. Like, there was no coming back. She said, well, like, why did you call me Snowball? And then she said, well, that's from George Orwell's
Animal Farm.
Yeah, but why would you call me Snowball? Snowball's like, you know, more of an idealist and consider you being more of that. And she was like, you've read Animal Farm? She's like, yes.
Hilary Swank's character dies, and then of course she Crystal told a story about basically about the tortoise and the hare, except for the hare. When after the hare lost, he went back and murdered the tortoise whole family. It was a disturbing story to tell your child. And so you see a little moment where Hilary Swank gave up the ghost. Crystal's just laying there. You see this jackrabbit, and it's just like, and she's just like, huh? And the little thing looks at her like, bitch, get your ass up. She's like, all right. And she just got up, fixed her wounds, put her sexy ass in this black dress, and got on the Learjet and flies home. And then she had some like super expensive liquor and caviar, the flight attendant.
I think that was just another moment where they show like how people could be more alike. Because a flight attendant, although they may know what's going on, they're still the help. They were the worker, and they weren't a part of that whole thing. She's like, well, I've never had caviar. I wouldn't have been able to have this. She's like, well, fuck it, you know, dig in.
It was both positive and negative. Some of the satirical nature of both sides were kind of a little too on the nose for me sometimes. Like, it was kind of cringy. It was still funny.
Caricatures of those.
Of people, yeah. And so even though I did find it comedic, that I can take it maybe once or twice, but they did it like a bunch of times. And not because I was mad or upset about it, but I swear when they did some of the more satirical stuff or the right wing and stuff, it always had like a really quick punchline. Like, it was quick. You know what I'm saying? Like the crisis actor thing, right? How they actually showed it was a crisis. That was hilarious, right? But then when he had the old lady and the old man talking for me. It was just like that little speech that they had was kind of annoying and stuff like that. But it was still funny. It made me laugh either way. I have some criticism for some of the right stuff, like when that woman popped herself and called the guy a snowflake. That was kind of a little too on the nose as well. That they were all part of some conspiracy. Now I get why at the end, because that conspiracy was what got those particular people in trouble. But I would have liked it better if they kind of like picked people for different reasons. Good things. The way the cast in the beginning was just taken out, totally was not expecting that. 30 minutes to an hour did a lot of things I wasn't expecting. I'll definitely give them a shout out for that. It was very funny. As a horror, kills were definitely kind of gory and messed up and stuff. And Crystal was probably my favorite in the show. She was badass. She knew how to survive, and she didn't play when it came to taking out the enemy. I mean, she took him out with extreme prejudice. I'll give it an 8. It was entertaining. It was funny. Yeah, and it kept me engaged. I didn't know what the hell was going to happen next.
I think 8 is fair. When I'm thinking about going through that movie, number one, I did like that it kind of jumped right into the action right away. I kind of like the characters being a little bit more of a caricature, only because I think it like drilled in that it was a satire. You all look ridiculous type of shit. Yeah, I liked her character. Badass. And I also like the fact that I didn't give a shit where she leaned politically. They were hunting her, so she needed to get up out of there. And I like the fact that she was as ruthless as she was to them. Right, and I also think that it was a cool contrast in when they were on that train, when the guy like, oh, this crisis babies, and as crazy and ruthless as she was like, no, we're not gonna do that. Like, there's no reason for this. Crazy was limited to the people who was trying to harm her. So I kind of like that. But I also like the fact that with him, it showed that there are people like him where they don't like certain groups of people, right? And it doesn't matter what situation they're in, that's always going to be top priority.
Crystal, all with her is don't judge a book by its covers. She wasn't xenophobic or racist. She didn't harm a group of people with babies. Obviously was learned in literature and could kick her ass. So it was like,
I would agree. Like, I think the 8 rating is fair. I enjoyed it. We were like, whoa, whoa. When they got that first girl out the way, I was like, holy shit. All right, this is the type of movie we've been watching.
I thought the movie's gonna be more serious, and I thought it was gonna be like the slasher flick. A group of people and they're trying to get out of this predicament while they're like getting picked off like one by one. If you haven't seen it, go ahead and check it out. Hope none of y'all that watchers aren't too politicized on one side or another, so you don't watch and you like, I ain't watching this, or just give it a try. It's a pretty good movie. You made it this far, do us a favor, sub to the channel. We get a bunch of comments, and sometimes people don't, they don't sub, when they watch you, but they don't sub. So if you're enjoying it, sub, hit it, give us a like, share it, send it to somebody you think that'll enjoy this, and we'll see you on the next one.
Yeah, y'all.